Yeah, dedication to my pops, Barkalum, Hupanetu Rumanucha Yukawuna Lulbihu. May the ancestors be pleased with all his work, his intentions. May the Most High remember him for the best of his deeds and forget the worst of his deeds. We honor him. He was a father to us. He was a mentor. He was a leader. He was inspiration. He was an example. He was our beloved dad. So, in honor of Tyrone Zampaladus Sr., who many know as Zed or Zampo, we put together this little production as his son. Yeah, and we're going to tell this story, which has not been told and has not been given due recognition. So we, as the sons of Zampaladus, are going to make sure that his legacy is recognized once and for all. Yeah, so my pops was old school, man. Just like the guys you see on the screen here. Colonel Gaddafi, one of his favourite people. Malcolm X, one of his favourite persons. Marcus Garvey, Elijah Muhammad. Pops was old school. He was a man of principles. He was a man who defined himself for himself through his own understanding. There was nothing orthodox about my dad. Understand? His first identification above all other things was simply he was a black man. That was enough for him. Today we argue about we're black and we're not black. For my father, he was a black man. That was the only significant label that he would tell you anywhere. It didn't matter where he was or who you was. He was a black man. You understand? In his own words, a Garveyite. Every other title that Dad used, secondary to blackness, whether it was Antiguan, Muslim, whatever title, that was just a secondary title. His first title was a black man. You understand what I'm saying? Self-identification and culture, that meant everything to him. The struggle that black people, indigenous people fought, the struggle for liberation against oppression, against white racism supremacy, that was his fundamental and main purpose. Yeah? Most of Dad's heroes and sheroes were non-compromising personalities, strong men and women. Men and women who stood for something, who believed in uplifting the nation and putting us back on the world stage as sultans, kings, queens, pharaohs. So in this regard, my dad was just like these characters you see on the screen. He taught us that we're in a harsh world and we need to develop a thick skin to fight against this oppression. This mental and physical liberation worldwide, this global awakening was ongoing, and we would win. You understand? And our justice will come when we win, and will come from the Most High. Justice ain't gonna come from this world and the justice system or the political system, voting and stuff. All of this was put into me from my dad. The whole meaning, the legacy, the literalness, the essence of being a black man, of being black woman. Yeah, Dad told me and my older bro, the black man sport is survival, and you better be good at it. This was just one of the many jewels he gave us in childhood. These jewels stayed with me for life. I passed them to my own children and my nieces and my nephews. Yeah, some of my earliest memories of these geopolitical, racial, historical memories that I went through with my dad. He schooled me on all of this stuff here. White racism supremacy, fascism, the Nation of Islam, and we fight against these KKKs and these NFs, racists. Yeah, the white man is the devil. That's what my dad told me. He showed me the plight that Nelson Mandela and Winnie Mandela and the South Africans were facing with apartheid. He showed me the stance of the Nation of Islam, Elijah Muhammad, H. Rap Brown, Eldridge Cleaver, Fred Hampton, Farrakhan, and all of them were taken. You understand? His form of Islam was very militant. It's not the type of Islam that is paraded around today as Islam. This Sunni, Muslim, Orthodox, Arab type of Islam. That weren't what my dad was into. He had nothing to do with that. What Dad meant about his Islam was I, self, Lord and Master, coming from the Nation of Islam and the 120 lessons. Elijah Muhammad, Farrakhan, H. Rap Brown, Eldridge Cleaver, Fred Hampton, all people of that vein. He was a militant, the Black Panthers, Huey P., Bobby Seale. You understand what I'm saying? So my dad, he brought the first Quran into Highfields, Leicester, and gave it to my mum and Auntie Khadija, who reverted and took it literally and went into it in between the lines and learnt the deen. Do you understand what I'm saying? So they even went further than my dad. I remember my mum telling me she had a memory one day she was cooking pork. Yeah, this is before she met my dad, and he came. This is before she got serious with my dad, and when my dad came in and realized what she was cooking, the first thing he did was just grab the whole pot or pan that she was cooking it in, go to the front door, open the front door, and fling everything out the front door. This was that type of character my dad was trying to show you, you understand? He brought the first Islam to Highfields, Leicester. My auntie Khadija, her daughter Amatullah, she was the first black Caribbean Muslim born with her Shahada. I was the second. She's 6 months older than me. What that means for those who don't know, when we were born, we didn't convert from Christianity into Islam. When we were born, My Auntie Khadija whispered the Shahada, which is your declaration of faith, into our ears as newborns. She whispered the La ilaha illallah Muhammadur Rasulullah La sharika lahu in our ears. Yeah, so we was born Muslim, mean ones of peace. Yeah, for the Most High. Yeah, and so that's a part of my dad's legacy, what he had learned from Elijah Muhammad and the Nation of Islam and them brothers there on the other side of the pond, Malcolm X and them. Yo, my dad implemented that here on this side of the pond and showed the people that the way forward is to walk out of this Christism, this worship of the white man and the image of the beast, this white Christ and Christianity altogether, which is a spiritual weapon. So my dad took us into the Garveyite teachings, you understand what I'm saying, as a pioneer of this community in Leicester, and led many people back to their own self-identification and culture. People like you see on the screen, like Eldridge Cleaver, Kwame Ture, you understand what I'm saying? Colonel Gaddafi, who he's seen as a hero because as far as he could see it, people like Gaddafi and Robert Mugabe, they had the balls and the backbone to stand up to white supremacy oppression when others didn't. They stood up in a stance that not many others before them kind of stuck the middle finger up like they did. So my dad admired them type of men, and I admire them too. Many of them men had difficult lives. The system tortured them. Yeah, many of them ended up dead or imprisoned and left for dead in a cell or character assassinated up to this day. And so when I say my dad is a person of this vein, he also came from this kind of life where I say the more powerful your destiny, the more powerful enemies you're going to have. And my dad was fighting, just like how our leaders here, many of their own people turn on him. Gaddafi's people turn on him. And many of the Nation of Islam's people, they turn on Elijah Muhammad. They tell you he's a womanizer, they tell you he's a fraud, they tell you he's this and that. Many of your own people more time are the ones who are going to turn on you. Yeah, it was come on, Black Devils who shot up Malcolm X. It was Black Devils who sold out Fred Hampton and shit, man. They have to send our own in to get us sometimes, you get me? My dad was facing a mountain of snakes and fake love and powerful enemies. You understand what I'm saying? That over the years wore him down, wore his resolve down. Yeah, and how the people never recognized what he did and the significance of the things that he did. Let's get into this shit here, because it's deep. It's deep. Yeah, so most of Dad's heroes and sheroes were, in society today, they're not regarded as good men. They're regarded as extremists or black nationalists or troublemakers and stuff. But if you study these people, they're anything but. People like Marcus Garvey, Malcolm X, the Black Panthers, H. Rap Brown, all the freedom fighters and stuff, man. Whether they died or they put in prison for extra long sentences and shit, the people turn on them and slander their names and disregard the contribution they gave to the liberation of our people. My dad went through the same thing right here on this side of the pond. Dad told us, man, the black man's sport is survival and you better be good at it. And this was just one of the many jewels he gave us in childhood. And these jewels stayed with us for life, like I told you. But like I said, some of the earliest memories, apartheid, South Africa, Nation of Islam, Elijah Muhammad, Farrakhan, protesting, Stephen Lawrence marches and stuff like that. He schooled me on all these people here before I was age 8, why I came into conflict with the teachers in school. Because I told them, I said, as far as I'm concerned, my dad said, you people is the devil. You understand? And they weren't ready to hear that. They were not ready for that. Yeah. Marcus Garvey with his UNIA association, the Universal Negro Improvement Association. Yo, that was like religion for my dad. That was literally like religion for my dad. That shaped a lot of his ideals and his outlook on himself and on black people as a whole came from the teachings of Marcus Garvey. Yeah, who in the house of Zampaladus, he is one of the greatest men who ever walked the face of this earth. especially if you're talking about modern times. Yeah, so Marcus Garvey shaped a lot of my dad's character in his identity and philosophy about who he was as a black man. There were many, but another one was Malcolm X. Malcolm X did that for a lot of people because of how raw it still is with how he was taken away from us. Even Marcus Garvey, he left in a cell to die, and he was Jamaica's first national hero. And we don't hear enough about Marcus Garvey and what his intentions were for us as a people, and how passionately he cared about the betterment of the black race globally, and bigging us up, putting us back on the world stage at the top, and the powers he was fighting that wanted that stopped, that saw him as the Messiah. My dad put that into me, man. The same with Malcolm X. And remember, Malcolm X's father comes out of the teachings and the school of Marcus Garvey. Malcolm X's father, if you watch the movie, Spike Lee movie, you will see the father was a pastor, but he was in the UNIA high up, like bodyguards for Marcus Garvey and stuff. So he brought the teachings of Marcus Garvey home to little Malcolm. And so he came up as a Garveyite on the teachings of Marcus Garvey. And Malcolm X himself, especially with the Islam, when he changed to Islam and his trials and tribulations through the street thing and jail and reverting to Islam and stuff, that had a heavy influence on my father and my mother and our household. So you would hear and see these images around my house like it was a museum, or you would hear my mum watching some Farrakhan tape or Malcolm X speech or something that was normalized to us, as to why me, my brother and my sister, as Zampaladus, born as a Zampaladus, that's what it means. It's not just a name. Some people think it's just a name. He's not just a dad. There's so much more to it. And a true Zampaladus, all of this what I'm saying, they would just be nodding their head, because this is what dad was. This is how he wanted himself to be remembered, so to speak. And this is how I remember him. And of course the Black Panthers, yeah. And so between these three philosophies here, you could kind of sum up my dad's kind of mentality, yeah, when it comes to himself and black people in general, and what we're coming from and where we were headed. And I had this embedded into me before I reached the age of 7, so that by the time I was 8, they kicked me out of school. Because I told the teachers after I broke one of their noses with a headbutt, the white people is the devil, because my dad told me. And so they phoned my dad up, and my dad had to come into the school, embarrassed and all of that shit. Yo, I fucking blew him up, sorry about my language, yeah? And they told my mom, listen, don't bring him back, he's expelled. And at the same time, they expelled my sister, who had nothing to do with it. They told my mom, don't bring that nigger back, and don't bring your daughter neither. So they put me in Medway. My mom put me in Medway School on Medway Street. I moved from Sparkano School, primary school on Sparkano Street, nigga. You can go and check that. 8 years old, I couldn't read or write. Yeah? And they sent me to Medway, where I was a problem child, and I stayed back 1 hour after school every day to learn how to read and write, as to how Jedefre can read and write, yeah? I cannot make this shit up for you, yeah? But it's down to this, what's on the screen. As my dad told me, yo, these were the guys that, well, showed me these were the guys that shaped him and normalized me to the philosophies and the teachings and the whole legacy and the meaning of what it means to be a black man, and the struggle for mental, physical and economic liberation from apartheid and Jim Crow and Kakiai Botha in South Africa, President Botha, and the Mandelas and Gaddafi and all of that stuff. Islam, that was my dad and my mum, yeah? Muhammad Ali was another big inspiration for my father. He transcended the sport of boxing, being associated with the Nation of Islam himself, and changing his name from Cassius Clay to Muhammad Ali the Greatest. And being that my dad was into boxing himself during his time in the Royal Air Force, he was heavily influenced by Muhammad Ali. His charisma, his humor, his love of combat, and his self-belief in himself that he was the greatest and he could achieve great things, and that believing in himself is all that he needed to do this. So yeah, my earliest memories, geopolitical, race, white racism, supremacy, fascism and all that shit. Yeah, politics. Yeah, Western governments, politics. Yeah, white man politics, how we go and mash up everybody's country, foreign policies, governments. Yeah, war, all of that type of stuff there. Sanctions. Yeah, imprisonment, man, them kind of way they put like leaders like Mandela in prison and lock them up indefinitely and stuff like that. I came up on that stuff there. That was staple diet for me in my house in my first 7 years. That was my template and still is my template. Apartheid. Some people might not even know what that is today and think it's irrelevant. So yeah, in the 60s and 70s with all that was going on, a lot of people, my mum told me, went around saying, yo, my dad was mad Tyrone. He's got all these radical views and stuff. He's a revolutionary and shit, man. He'll get you into trouble with the folk, yeah, with massa. You understand? That's how my dad was known, as Zed. Freedom fighter, yeah. And my dad came from Antigua, Pears Village, West Indies. And not a lot of people know that. They think everyone in the Caribbean come from Africa, but that's not true. In Antigua, we found out that we come from North America just as much as we come from Africa. And we came in the form of two tribes who were exiled and banished to Antigua because of our antics in America. So one tribe was called the Nancasito tribe, yeah, and another tribe was called the Westos tribe. Both tribes were banished to Antigua. So along with the Africans that they brought there from West Africa, that make up the DNA structure and the bloodline at Antigua Wadadli, ANU, the land of the sun. So I was there myself in Antigua for 7 years, from the age of 13 to the age of 20. I call it my 7 days of creation, seasoned by the sun along the equator, yeah. But yeah, along with all the stuff that I just told you about Marcus Garvey and all of that stuff, the UNIA, Nation of Islam, you understand, the study of apartheid and the struggle of liberation globally with South Africa and all that stuff there. On top of that, when we went for the 7 years, when we moved to the Caribbean, Antigua, they have a brilliant curriculum over there that makes English UK curriculum look daft. And we learned everything we needed to learn about our real history. I'm not saying it's perfect, like they teach us the whole Kemet thing and stuff, but they teach us relevant stuff about slavery and stuff that you're not going to learn from white people or the curriculums here or in the USA. Do you see what I'm saying? So I give thanks that I had 7 years of that and became a man learning that type of stuff on top of what my household was. Yo, it was truly a blessing the way I came up. And I remember, don't get it twisted, in history class in Antigua, I was, when we could choose our lessons, when we didn't have to do it, I was the only person that chose history. I was the one student in history class. Them Antiguans, they don't want to know. They in their Christian stuff and that. They don't want to know. They don't want to know about Africa and none of that stuff. A lot of them. The Rastas do. Yeah, that's different. But the normal people, they ain't trying to hear that shit. No one chose history class except me. I was the only student, so I had a full one-on-one with the teacher for 2 years. So I ain't no wannabe part-time historian. This comes from deep-rooted in my dad. My dad was a political activist of the highest caliber. He knew everything about everything, every political situation black people were in all across the face of the earth, and who the leaders were and who was responsible and who the freedom fighters were and the whole 9 yards. That was my religion in my household, the Zampaladus, the House of Dragon. So yeah, my dad even went to the RAF and he said the RAF messed him up, man. My mum said it traumatized him. Literally. Yeah. Another one person that my dad was greatly influenced by is Mike Tyson, that just don't give a shit attitude. Yeah, I think Mike Tyson helped him reach there. Mike Tyson was so special to my dad. He would wake us up every time Mike Tyson was fighting. And remember, like I said, my dad was a boxer too in the RAF. Every time Mike Tyson was fighting, it don't matter if it was 3 a.m. in the morning and we had school the next day. None of that shit mattered. You understand? Mike was fighting, there was popcorn waiting. Daddy's gonna come upstairs and wake us up. Yeah, and there'll be popcorn and snacks and stuff. And he would ask us, who do you think's gonna win? And I would always pick Tyson. Even one time he picked wrong. He thought Tyson was gonna lose to Briggs. I think it was Shannon Briggs or something. Yo, trust me, Tyson influenced my father positively through the boxing, through the way he conquered the world. Yeah, my dad admired Tyson, and that's why Tyson, he hold a special place in my heart. The real Mike, not the clone, yeah? Bob Marley, he was another one. I'd love to be able to play some of these songs and that, but the way YouTube works and that, it puts restrictions on your stuff. If you start using like copyrighted material, they go and they take it to a next level. So I thought I'd leave it out. But yeah, Bob Marley, my dad was heavily into his music. I get my music stuff from my dad too. Very creative person when it comes to music, loves experimenting with instruments. He tried to put us in guitar class and stuff. Me and my brother blew it. The old man couldn't take us, man. You get me? My dad was influenced by the Wailers, Bob Marley and the Wailers. Bob Marley, Peter Tosh, Bunny Wailer, Burning Spear, Black Uhuru, Aswad. You know, them old school musical youths. What is that? That Lenton Huey Johnson or whatever. Leighton Huey Johnson or Benjamin Zephaniah, even spoken word and stuff. Yeah, they was in my family from day. Them songs or people or characters, they're not new to me. Because of my dad, he had a whole library, crates of records. We used to go to sleep with them shits playing. That's what kind of house we was. Certain time he would just be playing them loud in the front room. That this whole record playing shit was in the front room. He'd be blasting that shit there, yeah. All of them songs, musical use, the whole past the Dutchy pan the left hand side. Yo. There was pictures of Gaddafi, Bob Marley, blackness everywhere. We weren't regular Muslims, man. Or pictures of haram and all of that bullshit, man. That's for Sunnis. You understand? You talking about the house of Zampaladus. That's one of the emancipation walks one year. I think that might have been a year where I was in jail. I'm sure it was. You understand? But every year, in the vein of my dad, like I said, we carrying his legacy, man. We carrying the torch for him. So my brother's brilliant thing, that emancipation walk every year, walk onto the park carnival and have a 1 minute silence for all the ancestors that died in the struggle and stuff. That's a beautiful picture with my nieces and nephews, man. That's a beautiful picture. And I think somebody's child photobombed the thing as well. It's all good though, you know what I'm saying? It's all good, man. Jimi Hendrix, all them, man. Pele and my dad was the same age, 82 years old. Dad outlived him by a week, so my dad is a champion. No disrespect, Pele, yeah? But it's my dad, that's my champion, man. I remember when Granddad passed away, it was Nelson Mandela a week before Granddad, and then Granddad passed away a week after. This time it's my dad, yeah, and Pele. And Pele passed away a week before. That's crazy. That's crazy. Yeah. But yeah, so that's a bit about my dad, man. This is what I'm talking about. He ended up joining the RAF. This is before his Black Power days. In his early days, he joined the Royal Air Force, the Queen's Regiment. And they ended up kicking him out for some bogus weed charge. Crazy, right? He weren't even in the... he had left on home leave and come back to England on home leave. And his friends in the RAF, I think they was in Cyprus, they got caught with some weed. And when they searched these guys' apartments or whatever, they found a letter that the letter had on it my dad's name, mentioned my dad, talking about, oh, they're going to give him some of the booze or some of the weed or something. So listen to this. They kicked my dad out the Air Force, yeah, like he's the main culprit or some shit, just be based on that evidence. And the geezers who got caught with the stuff, they didn't even get kicked out the Air Force. So my dad got kicked out with no pension. No pension. That crippled him, you know. And these guys never even lost their place in the Air Force. But anyway, this same Queen's Regiment that had my dad and them going around bombing up people in bomber planes, they was neglecting black people the same way this Tuskegee shit was going on in America, where they digging the brothers with syphilis and stuff, yeah, and some kind of experiment they got found out. Yo, the same stuff was going on over here. How many Tuskegee experiments you think that never got discovered? Yeah, in America and outside of America. It was going on here. They was jabbing dad and them with all types of different experimental drugs and stuff. And also they was neglecting them certain gear. Like my dad was on them big cannon bomber plane stuff where you drop out bombs and fire cannons and stuff. So you're supposed to have earmuffs. They never even gave the black people, the black soldiers, no earmuffs, man. They was telling them, oh, just cover your ears, you'll be okay. My dad had problems with his left ear. At a certain time, he couldn't even hear properly if you was talking to him from his left side. And then there's other people who was in the same regiment as him who ended up with the same crippling stuff he did, like the same tinnitus ringing in his left ear, the same, what's it called, hernias, yeah, and manic depression. So, yo, my dad came out with trauma. He said when he came out the Air Force, he told me and my brother, as Trojan, another Jew, he said, listen, don't never join the army. That's no place for a black man. You understand what I'm saying? Don't join the army. Never do it. That's on my dad. That's on God, yeah? And that's speaking from experience. Obviously, he's been there. He knows what it is. You see what I'm saying? So, Zampaladus, we don't entertain no army, man. That ain't for us. We make it in other ways. Yeah, so I feel like Dad could have got compensation from the Royal Air Force had he handled that sooner. And we never even found out about this stuff till like the last years of his life. I tried to inquire into it, and my solicitor said, yo, it's probably not going to amount to nothing how long my man left it. Like, yo, that's like 30 odd years ago and stuff. That's crazy, man. I had to have words with Dad like, yo, you should have looked into that, man. But it's a mad thing. It is what it is, innit? But that's what I'm saying. That was his experience with the army and the navy and stuff. And this is why I kind of, when I look across the pond and see so much black Americans that joined the US Army and shit, I'm appalled. I'm like, bastard, there's so much black women and black men in the army over there. Like, it's, yo, it's crazy, man. We don't join the army over here. Like, not us anyway, as clued up ones. That shit ain't for us. I can't be the only one that had a dad that's saying that. You know what I'm saying? I wouldn't be Jed Efre if I never had the father I had. Yeah, like, and I say have, because even though he's ascended, I feel like I still have him. You know what I'm saying? Death is an illusion, man. The biggest illusion of separation we live on. Yeah, in the hearts of our loved ones. Yeah. So yeah, early school for me was a problem because of the father I had. Like, what he taught me, he took me everywhere with him, man. So the kind of stuff that he told me, that stayed with me, man. And he intended for it to stay with me. Like, you see my son here, Kush, smiling for some food. I intend for it to stay with him and my other son and my daughter, Akasha. You understand what I'm saying? Because that's how my father raised us up. So I had problems in school dealing with authority, white authority, teachers, all that shit there. I had trouble in society dealing with police, council people, the whole shit. Because my mentality is very harsh. I come from that's why I got expelled from school in the way I did. Yeah, and my dad also had a thing where he felt discriminated against in society because he was the darkest one out of his siblings. So in his own family, he felt discriminated against by his dad, who would favour my uncle, my dad's younger brothers, because they were lighter skinned like himself, and my dad was dark skinned like his mum. So when he favoured them to fund them to go to the good schools and stuff, my dad didn't go to school. My dad went with his mum to the fields and shit to go and chop cane and shit like that, you know. So my dad had a resentment about that and felt like he had a inferiority complex that he was battling in his own private way, you know, because my dad was very dark skinned, as you can see. So my dad started a lot of stuff as well. Like, he started the ACC, the African Caribbean Centre, yeah, and the Youth Foundation. Yeah, the ACC, that was the Highfields Workshop, yeah. And then they also had on Myrtle Road, 66 Myrtle Road, the Black Powerhouse, yeah. And they founded also the Youth Foundation, which was a hostel for homeless young black people, which was like a lifeline for many people in Leicester City at that time. I still have memories, Kodak memories of days in that hostel. My mum working there and stuff. I remember some of the residents like Elvis with his big ass Doberman. I used to be scared of, shit myself, when that Doberman come anywhere near me. Yeah, the hostel's changed now, it's gone. Yeah, but my dad started that shit there along with others like Bina Balunda and Pharaoh, my mum and Marcia Maynard and stuff, man. They're the real pioneers and revolutionaries of this city here. And anybody who argue with that, only a fool would argue with what I'm saying here. So this today is called African Caribbean Centre, but back then it was called Highfields Workshop. You understand? So together with the black empowerment teachings that was coming from America, our brothers and sisters in America, Angela Davis, the Black Panthers, Fred Hampton, the Nation of Islam, all these positive, this upliftment spread like live wire around the world, and Leicester City Council got scared. So my dad's enemies came in the form of snakes, yeah, with warm hearts and with warm smiles and cold hearts, fake love, yeah, and also authorities, Leicester City Council, the enemy, yeah, and Leicester Constabulary, the enemy, You understand what I'm saying? So my dad was making Hayway, Rattle Bookshop, Red Star, Groundation, music band. So much things were going on. It was like a paradise for us in my childhood growing up. And I don't want to make it sound like I'm putting it on a pedestal. Of course, there's crime, drugs, all that kind of shit. But we had a community. You understand what I'm saying? And Leicester Council seen it fit that, yo, we got to break these community. Otherwise, it's going to, what happened over there in America is going to start happening over here. We're going to have this Malcolm X shit, Martin Luther King stuff, protests, marches, you understand, going on here. And they got scared, man. So they started this resettlement program, Leicester City Council, this, what do they call it, gentrification or whatever. They spread us out. They resettled us, broke our community. Also bringing in drugs, bringing drug dealers into the city and leaving them to just sell drugs, crack and cocaine and mash up the revolution. Like my father told me how they did this. And how I look at Highfields today and sometimes I shake my head, my heart's broken, man. There's no more Venture Playground, there's no more Red Star, there's no more nothing for us here. Yeah, they brought in Bollywood. They brought in Vlad the Impaler, the whole Eastern Bloc. Eastern Europeans and shit, man. Used to come out your home back then. 90% of the faces you see when you come out your front door, you know them. Your neighbours, everyone. Yeah. Now it's the other way around. You come out your front door in Highfields, 90% of the people, you don't know where in the world they came from. They could have came from beyond the ice wall. It's a mad thing. Yeah, man. So they brought in the Asians, Indians, Pakistanis, Eastern Bloc people. They changed the demographics of Highfields by about 90%. Yeah, Leicester City Council with their resettlement program. Things like Adventure Playground, Rattle Bookshop, Red Star Community Centre. Yeah, Community Centre is now the Indian Centre, the Priya Centre. You understand what I'm saying? Yeah. And the Highfields Workshop, the council took over. That became African Caribbean Centre. There ain't nothing African about it except for the consumers. That's not ours. That's the council's. We don't own nothing. You know what I'm saying? Back in my father's day, we owned everything. We had even a boxing gym. Bookstore, boxing gym, food places, community centres, 2, 3 or 4 of them. Football teams, the whole stuff, man. We owned our own destiny. And my dad was the pioneer of that. And the council and the police and the government, they took that down because they were threatened by that. The same way they threatened by my brother right now with what he do, with his work to empower the city and empower people and bring people together. The same way they fear and sleep on what I do, with the lives and speaking to you, regularly writing these books to try and break the chains that are holding your mind. Tyrone Zampaladus Sr. Remember that name. And if you ask me what type of name is Zampaladus, just like my father told me, it's not a slave name. And that should be enough for you. Or maybe you need to be a non-slave to really understand that. Yeah, man. So Dad ended up starting his own political party, man. BPLP, Black Power Liberation Party. You understand? Or Black People Liberation Party. And remember, from someone who never went to school, who came to England at 16 years old to live with his father, and then ran off from home at the age of 18. You understand? And he came here in one of them container things, I'm telling you. Yeah. My granddad, his dad, was somebody who dealt with that tough love business. He was a, if you hear the stories about my granddad, oh my days, I'm not even going to get into it here. Let's just say we're dragon lords, and it's not a joke when I tell you that. We come from a different essence, from a different time. We are ancient souls returned. And so in our heyday, we were dragon lords. We horse whisperers, dog whisperers, dragon slayers, dragon riders. We are those type of essence. We have the blood of the dragon. The fire of the dragon is in our blood. Do you understand what I'm saying? So the type of fire that comes from us in terms of being revolutionary, nation building, indigo children is a madness. I could burn the whole city down with just my fire alone, and that's not even, I say that with the greatest bit of humility. We're warriors, light warriors. And my father was the first one of our generation, the house of Zampaladus. So after all of this fell, man, and the snakes came in, the council paid off all these people and put them in high positions, give them these nice jobs and nice little houses, sending the drug dealers and all of that shit, the prostitutes. They killed the revolution, man. You know what I'm saying? They killed the revolution. My dad became a taxi driver. First he used to rent taxi to drive, saved up enough money to buy his own taxi. Them London style magpie taxis. He bought his own taxi, man. You know what I'm saying? I remember that. Some of the greatest memories come from the time when my dad had that taxi, the magpie taxi, going to Coventry to get it fixed and stuff. Man, those were those are golden memories, man, even just thinking about it right now. You know what I'm saying? And I take my hat off to my dad for providing me with those memories right there, him and my mother. Yeah? There would be no Memnon. You see Memnon there with Achilles? There would be no Memnon without Tyrone Zampaladus. There would be no In the Light of the Sun series or TZT, Book Mafia or Scribetribe, none of that shit. He worked hard in his taxi, and he also did removals as well. So he never relied on the benefits, job seekers allowance, JSA, dole and shit, man. He had this big white van. We did removals with him, me and my brother. Certain times, people were so impressed with the job, they paid my dad and paid me and my brother separately. We was like 12, 14 and shit, and we getting like £20 here, £50 there each. You know what I'm saying? Yo, there's some of my best memories, man. That time there. Wow. Gratitude to the Most High for having the privilege of having that type of loving childhood environment there. That was and the type of example, because it showed me you really have to depend on yourself, and you have to have more than one stream of income. So I'm glad I wasn't homegrown, and I went to the other side of the pond where I became that jaguar, where I linked with my other side, Taino culture from Jamaica, Antiguans, Wadadli, yeah, American culture, Olmecs, Mayans, Nahuatl, you understand, Atlantis, Lumaria, Bimini Islands. I wanna got to be the privilege of being and the honor of being and becoming Jedefre Memnon if it wasn't for my father and for him to take me to that side where I could link with the ancestors so 1,000 of them could stand behind me and back my pen. I take my hat off to my father and honour him today. See Dad there with his band Groundation. Yo. This was one of Dad's favourite cars. He used to fix these up and sell them. He used to buy them second hand, partly broken up, and sell them. Them and Porsches were two of his favourite mobiles along with Land Rover, yeah? Yeah, so when I was born, I remember we also had a boxing gym, like I told you. My dad had 3 or 4 of these Beetles here, kitted up. Like, this is not even half as good looking as my dad's red one with the big massive wheels and the spacers on it and shit, man. Yo, the thing looked serious. That was my favourite one. It was parked up in the garage and we used it on special occasions. We used to go and sit in it and pretend we're driving it. Even our backyard, man, was like an adventure, like the Goonies and shit. Not even a joke. We had about 6 or 7 bicycles. My dad's car parked up in there. My dad was always fixing some car or something. We had the shed, long shed too, so we could play in there. We had space to play in there and everything. Yo, I miss that childhood, I'm telling you. And then my dad had the camper van. You get me? We went Glastonbury in this camper van. And let me tell you, let me share a story with you. I can't even make this up. These camper vans here, yeah, Yo, we went Glastonbury and my dad had one of these camper vans here. He was like one of them Rasta slash hippie slash Hells Angels kind of people, yeah. And we went Glastonbury as a family in the camper van, drove there, yeah. And remember, my dad's a revolutionary. He's a problem for the system too. So on the way back, this camper van starts rocking side to side. So my dad's thinking, yo, why is this thing so unstable, rocking side to side like this? It's not supposed to be doing that. So he slows it down and gets it and stops it, hops out and checks this thing. Or I think he might have done that after we made the journey home. He's gone and had the thing checked, or however it is. I'm not fully remembering it properly. And they found out that the whole chassis had been unloosened from the body of the camper van. So somebody, while we was at Glastonbury, maybe we was away from the camper van or something, or I don't know how they did it. They loosened out the chassis from the fucking, sorry about my language, from the van, yeah, hoping that on the way home we'd have an accident and we'd be dead, because you're likely not to survive something like that. Do you see what I'm saying? So they tried to kill us. That was the first time. And the second time, I remember the stories in my family. I think it was my mum who told me at first that one time she smelled some gas in the house and there was some kind of leak going on. So she called one of these, I don't know if it was British Gas or whoever else, they come and fix these gas leaks. She called out one of these dudes to come and fix the leak. He came out to fix the leak. He's left. She's still smelling this gas. So she's kind of like, nah, man, I'm going to call another one. Maybe he did a shit job or something. She's called another one. He's come and fixed the thing. Well, he's told my mum, hold on, this pipe was fully open. It's like someone just opened the pipe. The thing's fully open. That's why you can smell so much gas. That's dangerous. You could have blew yourself up. So my mum's explained how she just called someone to fix it from this other, I don't know if it was another company or another agent or whatever. And so the guy, good-hearted guy, whoever he was, he said, to be honest with you, when I came, there was somebody in another gas van waiting on the corner opposite your house. Like, they was waiting for this shit to go down. So they've been trying to kill my family, the Zampaladuses, my dad and his legacy, for a very long time. All the police knew of him. You understand? I remember one time they dragged him down the stairs by his locks. He used to have long locks all the way down to the back of his ankles. Like, someone like me, as Jedefre, I remember all of that shit. That shit's recorded on my hard drive. That shit fuels who I am today. I know who I am and what the struggle is. Do you understand? And I'm going to show you about that Glastonbury. You understand me? I'm going to show you about Glastonbury. Remember, my dad is from Antigua. Yeah. Antigua, West Indies, and came to the UK from Antigua, West Indies. Yeah, Pears Village. If you see there, kind of like in the, not, I wouldn't say northwest, but in that region around, you see that pond in the middle? That little pond that says Betty's Hope? Yeah, where they had all the slaves and shit. Betty's Hope is a slave sugar plantation. It's what still got ruins and shit there. The list of the slaves that they bought there and shit. So you see right at the top, Pears, that's my neck of the wood from Wadadley, Antigua. St. John's, that's the capital in the city. Nigga, I'm all the way in the east in the country. Betty's Hope, Pears Village. You understand? There's Seaton's. I used to go Seaton's. I used to go Parham. Yeah, Parham Harbour. I used to go Willikes, Pigots. Long Bay was one of my favourite and most local beaches. Oh, man. You understand what I'm saying? Oh, man. Take it down. Nelson's Dockyard in the south. English Harbour. Oh, come on. Listen, man. This is making me want to go. You know what I'm saying? It's making me want to go. My dad been all over the world as a RAF pilot, and he was a bomber, dropping bombs out them big ass bomber planes. But I'll show you that to show you this. Glastonbury, when it was Glastonbury, before they took it over and channeled all the energy that they get from there yearly, there's a reason why Glastonbury is Glastonbury in terms of the festival, because that spot is a highly charged spot. The old Glastonbury, I think this is 1987. We could have been right there. It might have been here that we was, 87, 86, might have been 88. I'm sure it weren't 88 or 89, so it's likely to be 86, 87, 85. We was at the first Glastonbury's and shit, man, when it was really kicking off. Yeah. Dad took us there in the camper van. They tried to kill us. Imagine that. I can't even make this shit up. Now it's a whole ritual where they harness the energy from the circuit board Earth yearly and camouflage it in this event. They took over this event, yeah, and this event was really about good intentions and bringing people together for peace. Now they just use it as a channel to siphon off that energy and use it for something else. Why do I say that, you're asking, right? Because Glastonbury is the heart chakra of planet Earth. Planet Earth has its own chakra system, and Glastonbury is the heart chakra, and that current is also the sixth chakra, which is the pineal chakra, because Mother Gaia, the Earth, has her own chakra system. Like you can see here. Study that while I roll a zoo. Yeah, in 1990 to 1994, we migrated to Antigua. I guess my dad had had enough of England, and he was like, yo, I'm gonna live with my brother back in my homeland, Antigua. My uncle Ocean was doing well for himself. Some would say he's a millionaire. Back in the days when we went to live in Antigua, we couldn't understand it. Obviously, I was like what, 13 years old. My balls was just about to drop. I couldn't understand it. You get me? But we went to Antigua, and remember, like I said, my dad worked hard with his removal business and his taxi driving. We was doing well for ourselves enough. I mean, we had Sky TV in 1993. Imagine that. Sky TV in 1993 for a black person. I was watching X-Men. I was sneaking home from school and watching X-Men and shit. I'm being serious. I couldn't understand why we was leaving our cushy life in England to go and live in a third world country. That's the only way I could think of Antigua. I thought, yo, this nigga taking us to like Africa or something. You know how ignorant we are in the West. You know what I'm saying? And yo, going to Antigua, that 7 years, that's priceless. I couldn't even put a price on that shit there, man. I'm being real with you guys. That's some priceless stuff right there. I can't put a price on that. You know? Yeah. So 19 to 94. 94 is when we went to Antigua. I came back in 2000, me and my sister. I think my brother came back in 97. Yeah. But that was priceless. That's where we came to find our gift with horses and dogs and animals and stuff. My brother had always been like that with animals, to be honest. Even in our childhood days, we had like little gangs based on animals and shit. Jungle masters, he called it. You know, so, but I think that the bond was strengthened when we went to Antigua. My uncle had a whole race yard with like 15, 16 horses on there, man. It became our daily life. Yeah. We ran that shit. We became the trainers and stuff like that. Crazy, you know. So that's where I had like 7 pit bulls over there, man. All that came from my uncle. You know. So yeah, we went over there and got seasoned by the sun. Yeah, and that's why we ain't no homegrown ninjas like 85% over here right now, you know. But I remember my dad, because my uncle was a drug dealer, but it's funny because my dad's stance on drugs is like, yo, he told us as children, only weed, that's it, nothing else. Yeah, all that other stuff is destruction, and that's another jewel that stayed with me throughout my life. That's why I never did no coke, never sniffed no line, not once. Never did no cocaine, never did no crack, never swallowed no pill. None of that shit there. I am Jedefre Memnon, the son of Tyrone Zampaladus. You understand? And I know the science behind all that shit there, and how the devil, with his fun and party and bullshit, came and killed the revolution. Nah, nigga. You understand? So, but Dad felt like he failed, man. He felt like he lost the war to his enemies, the council and the Leicester constabulary and the people who turned their back against him. Fake love, people with warm smiles and cold hearts. He, in himself, felt like he failed because he never got recognized for the pioneer he was. Like, he was never a millionaire or really well off. Like, he should have been. He should have been like a king. You understand? He was a living legend, but instead he was ignored and frowned upon and forgotten, you know. And so he not that he wasn't like that in the beginning, because some of it is his own fault. As humans, we get in our own way sometimes, you know. My dad was very rough edge and direct. He could be very abrupt, you know, have no tact as a Sagittarius and stuff. Sometimes he didn't care. He can be narcissistic. He can be abusive. I'm not here to slag off my dad, innit? I just want to show you that I'm not trying to put him on a pedestal. He was an example for us in the good and the bad ways. Some of his failures are not failures because it was me and my brother are able to see and my sister and learn off that shit. You understand what I'm saying? So it's a deep science to parenthood and stuff, man. Especially like I got children on my own. If I could do half a good a job that my dad did, I wouldn't have nothing to worry about, man. Like it's really that serious. You know? So yeah, that's how I feel about it, man. Like, that's how I feel about it. He never got recognized for all the great pioneering, revolutionary work that he did in the community to allow people to find their true identity as black African people and step outside of conventional thinking and institutionalized religions and European Arabicized ways of thinking and stuff, man, to come together and own our own community and hold our own destiny in our own hands and stuff. That's what my dad stood for, as Tyrone Zampaladus. That's what his legacy is. So if you claim to know him and love him, then you will honor his legacy by spreading the word. Do you understand? Because only bitter people would look down on such a beautiful legacy and soul, regardless of the person's character flaws. What he did benefited so many lives on so many different levels, from the bringing of the Quran to telling us never to do drugs and stuff. I seen what drugs did to some of my family and some of my, you understand what I'm saying, friends and people in the community and stuff. Yo, you understand? My dad was a living legacy, and people didn't want to acknowledge it for whatever reason. Like, me and my brother go through the same thing today with what we do. And it's just, I think it's a Willie Lynch thing that black people have. Look how many leaders came and lost their life or freedom trying to put us before themselves. You understand? It puts me off of wanting to do anything, because it's always the same story with each one of our leaders, man. See my dad there with, like, the police trying to arrest him. This is from his Black Power book. You know what I'm saying? Which I'm going to release again, a book written in this 1972 about the real Black Power movement in Leicester City. Yeah? And I have that copy given to me by my dad so that I could reprint it and bring it back from the Mr. time in the 1972 into now, 2023. So it's like, what, 51 years later, yeah? Yeah. see the symbol here for these bastards. Yeah, these bastards, man. The Queen's Regiment, the Royal Air Force. They jabbed up my dad with all them fucking experimental shits, man. And got away with, they think they got away with that shit. They ain't got away with that shit. All the countless other men that died due to that dirty shit there. That's terrible.
Yo, crook in the flame. Some are shepherds and some are sheep. It's just how it is, man. Don't be a sheep, man. Don't be a conformer.
Right, this pledge here, yeah? The African pledge. We will remember the humanity, the glory and suffering of our ancestors, and honor the struggle of our elders. We will strive to bring new value and new life to our people. We will have peace and harmony among us. We will be loving, sharing and creative. We will work, study and listen so we may learn so we may teach. We will cultivate self-reliance. We will struggle to resurrect and unify our homeland. We will raise many children through our nation. We will have discipline, patience, devotion and courage. We will live as models to provide new direction for our people. We will be free and self-determining. We are African people. We will win. Ma'at.
Like they working for law. The youth doing what they gotta do and end up in court. Vicious system designed to keep us all in the net. They're making money off of suffering with not a regret. Private prisons and shareholders with their checks. It's business to keep them full. What the fuck you expect? Ain't no rehabilitation, let's just get that correct. So many IPPs, the shit got me upset. So take your time, young man, don't let it go to your skull. And with the same breath, I tell you, live your life to the full. It's always an adventure, life is never dull. In the mood for some ass and titties out on the pole. I'ma do my own thing, I ain't following the masses. Cause the M is silent, so the majority are asses. And niggas can't see like they needing a pair of glasses. And sheep are getting dumber and dumber as time passes. I'ma do my own thing, I ain't following the masses. Cause the M is silent, so the majority are asses. And niggas can't see like they needing a pair of glasses. And sheep are getting dumber and dumber as time passes. Even watch the news anymore, what's the point? High priest in the temple, I'm the one to anoint. Hip-hop scribes and pharaohs, sages and priests. The kingdom of mercy, yo, we prepping up for the peace. And we celebrate like the old days with a feast. And after Armageddon, we gon' have 1,000 years of peace. Bind Satan and throw him in a bottomless pit. Strap a bomb on the devil, make sure the wicked's lit. In a league of my own, sitting on the iron throne, the faceless men. Protect me, aliases are known, anonymous, off the radar, stealth technology. Fam, this ain't no theory, hands-on, like it's pottery. I keep the holy ways, Negropeans make a mockery. Ragnar Memnon, fam, this world bothers me. Who the king of UK rap? I show them properly. Pulling off the industry highs, armed robbery. I'ma do my own thing, I ain't following the masses. Cause the M is silent, so the majority are asses. And niggas can't see like they needing a pair of glasses. And sheep are getting dumber and dumber as time passes.
Yeah, so Dad had a real intimidating, abrupt, insulting energy. He could be very direct. And like not for his friends say, he drove a lot of people away, man, with how he was as a person. He became bitter, angry, yeah, and that ate away at him. You know, when you have unfulfilled visions, sometimes that destroys people, you know, more than you can understand sometimes if you ain't had a vision yourself, you know. And sometimes giving up on your vision, that's like giving up on yourself. It's like admitting defeat and shit. My dad had him fighting his own demons with his own unfulfilled visions and stuff, you know, and just being forgotten, man. The God they forgot. Yo, man. He became a recluse. He drove his loved ones away, even us, and sank into his manic depression. He was very aggressive from the start, but even more so, he became violent. He had outbursts, you know what I'm saying? He was verbally abusive, physically abusive at times, you know? Some of the things he could say to people, but like I said, I'm not here to slag off my dad, yeah? But I do have things that I will never, I forgive him for them things, but I don't forget them, like, if you know, innit? Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, it's crazy. But I love him, I got nothing but love for him. Brendan, Marlon, my brothers, I got nothing but love for you. Natasha, Sasha, Ian, I got nothing but love for my brothers and sisters. The known, and if there's any that's unknown. Yeah, and I don't see, we was taught by dad and my mum, we don't have half brothers and half sisters. We only have brothers and sisters, that's it. So yeah, his manic depression, hernia, cancer, dementia, cataracts, his body began to fail, man. And after his body broke down, he went into hospital in 2020. I knew it was like the beginning of the end, man. I didn't want to think about it. But for me, it was the beginning of the end. It's like, yo, the old Spartan's going, man. He making the transition, and it's a process for him. He like an old battle tank. And then when he started taking them flu shots and stuff, man, I don't even want to talk about that shit, man. Yeah. But like I said, my dad was good and bad examples, but he showed us how to win and how not to lose, what to avoid, not to make the same mistakes he did, especially with the wrong women, the wrong choices, the wrong consequences. The consequences could be last for a lifetime. I know, I'm speaking from experience. The RAF, the army, they ain't nowhere for a black man to be. They don't care about us. The government don't care about us. You know? That Tuskegee shit going on in every demographic of society, man. He was an example, man. And hopefully from his example, he broke the generational curses, man. He was chosen as a soldier of the bloodline to be Zampaladus, because he was the only one in our bloodline who was strong enough to go through all that to break those generational curses. I couldn't have did it. He suffered here because this world is not for us. He suffered in this world trying to free himself and free other people from this, man. He showed us how to get out of our own way, how to tame the dragon, man. Sagittarian fire roast, man. My dad showed me about the real religion, the God within, the force within. May the force be with you today. If you're still here listening, I respect you for spending your time with me, listening to me speak about my beloved father. Rest in peace. And I remember bringing him back a Quran from England when I came to visit in '97. And I brought 2 Qurans back, one for him and one for my uncle. And I swear he made a connection with that Quran. I never seen that man miss a Fajr morning, rising prayer. I never seen he wake up every rising and hit that 2 rakah, you know? And Allahu Alam, Allah knows best, you know? And that's enough for me. I'll play this song for my dad. Drink Skull with ANU.
Celebrating 4-year have set victory. Yo, too nasty. Drink it up, it's my victory scar. All my enemies is dead and buried, dream with scar. It's King Ragnar with a supermodel dog. And we gon' smoke weed by the trees and swallow spot. Jug full of Heineken sitting on my table. Them niggas tried to keep up with me, but they wasn't able. Man, the way I'm dropping bangers make these rappers look disabled. I heard them say they gonna run up on me, that be fatal. Bring a body bag and some fucking shovels. I'ma make you dig your own grave. You niggas, you in trouble. You live in fantasy and I'ma push your bubble. I'm cornering the market, fam. This shit is my hustle. It's the new rap mecca, fam. A whole new genre. Dragon Slayer infamous, they say we saga. They tried to lock me down, but now I'm back to finish my saga. Drink it up, it's my victory scar. All my enemies is dead and buried, dreams with me scar. It's King Ragnar with a supermodel car. And we go smoke weed by the trees and swallow scar. Drink it up, it's my victory scar. All my enemies is dead and buried, dreams with me scar. It's King Ragnar with a supermodel car. And we go smoke weed by the trees and swallow scar. Bloody murder, tell these devils I ain't playing. I manifest the God to get on with this dragon slaying. Find these man are mumble rappers, don't know what the fuck they saying. I pull up on the devil, let me find out where we staying. Got my adversaries like they call them from the rocks. You never see them niggas face no more around the block, cause they scared. Bump into them, you can see they heart stop. They pupils dilating cause they asses in shock. And I'm a rock non-stop until you niggas sick and tired. Like Mayweather, I ain't even done when I'm retired. If the money right, I might come again for round 2. And I don't give a flying fuck about whoever rolling with you. You bullshit crew, your man's a gas like you want nitrogen. Got me a couple of soldiers from the IRA in Ireland. I ain't came from town, but now they calling me the fireman. Squeeze this shit apart, these motherfuckers like a pipe. Drink it up, it's my victory scar. All my enemies is dead and buried, dreams with me scar. It's King Ragnar with a supermodel car. And we go smoke weed by the trees and swallow scar. Drink it up, it's my victory scar. All my enemies is dead and buried, dreams with me scar. It's King Ragnar with a supermodel car. And we go smoke weed by the trees and swallow scar. Drink it up, drink it up, drink it up, drink it up, drink it up.
Yeah, let me share a poem for you from the Black Power book from the 1972. It's written by Brother Mali, BPLP. Right on, BPLP, to the revolution. Your aims are strong. With good desire, you can't go wrong. Politics is the name of the game. When the revolution is finished, this world can't be the same. Brother Mali. Burn Baby Burn by Brother Mali. San Quentin, may you burn in hell. You've murdered Brother George, but you can't murder the revolution. Look around you and you will see the revolutionaries are organizing themselves within your walls. San Quentin, you murderous dogs. Brother Mali.
Yeah, kicked out of school at 6, deep shit, real spits, dark side, ain't no Jedi mind trick. Smoking in kilos on Caribbean cruise ships, smoking weed, sun setting on the beach and shit. My childhood unorthodox, I grew up Godspeed, seasoned by the sun, you niggas smoke that homegrown weed. I never thought I would live to see the end of the world. The whole shit gone mad, I worry about my baby girl, smart in prison, digital crack, social dilemma. Somehow I came immune to the pain, seeking for pleasure, how I seen the world dip, and ascend to the depths. The world is guilty as charged till I take my last breath. I repent for my sinning in my far gone days. I'm a raw, please forgive us, we were stuck in a maze. I'm more like a labyrinth, David Bowie and shit. Cause sticky situations found me with the gun on my hip. When we was out robbing niggas, we was hitting them licks. If I heard you had the catch, to kick your door off, bitch. But we long since retired and simmered them black mirrors. Shadow governments, bioweapons and drug dealers. In my past, treasures in the sand, diamonds in the dirt. Elohim, take my hand, please let me leave the earth. But not before we chop the heads off these demons and save the children. I'm blind when I shine like the sun, call me the pilgrim. The spiritual temple of God is what we build in. The walls go high up to heaven, which is the ceiling. The shadow work, meditation, looking for healing. I see through all the cheats in their mask, they lost the meaning. Yo, I'm feeling so good right now. Nobody gonna take me out of my center. my center space. I don't wanna be reincarnated back to this place. I'm ashamed of humanity, the world's a disgrace. I'm embarrassed before the gods, bow my head to the floor. Coronavirus, agenda 21 to the core. I tried to tell them, for many years I screamed and I yelled. Muslims said, astaghfirullah, you're going to hell. Blacklisted, conspiracy theorists, rap mystic. My lyrics like hellfire missiles that go ballistic. And if you haven't seen the Nibiru, you must have missed it. Nemesis, the black sun, fam, sick shit. Mainstream media, they take the biscuit. They keep the raps on the stories, don't wanna risk it. Second wave, local lockdowns and more. If people really knew what these devils have in store, fam, question everything. What the fuck is it for? And we ain't black, fam, we Kushites, some modern day Moors, it's dragon slayers. I thought you knew, round of applause. DSFL, a motherfucking rebel with a cause. Truth terrorist, numero uno. Fuck the law, fuck a vaccine, and fuck the police. I'm cracking jaws, gold diggers, haul up Jazzy Bells and jaw wars. High fields, bro, clash of the titans and fog wars. See, I'm the one to tell it, my story, the lion roars. It's Armageddon, World War III, pick up your sword. Cooking the flame.
Come on with the bullshit, man. You think another motherfucker know what you need to do? Ain't no purpose, dog. It's money. We born to fucking die, man. In the meantime, get money. Fuck a book, man. Fuck a book, man. Fuck a book, man. Fuck a book, man.
Alright, yo, dedicated. Yo. See, I'm a better man just for being with her. She says she want a natural, not a real nigga. So baby, why don't you come and play with me? I'll show you how this love's supposed to be. See, I'm a better man just for being with her. She says she want a natural, not a real nigga. Like what's a man to a king, what's a king to a god? Drop yourself a real goddess, cause these bitches is art. Early morning hours, we get straight into that loving. See, I'm a handle breakfast, got fish fingers in the oven with some waffles and some plantain. When you catch your breath, cause I know I left you planting. Watching you get dressed, I just love watching her glowing up, styling up her hair. Afro puffs, defy gravity, all up in the air. Anything she needs, I'ma sort it out, there ain't never stress. I could lose myself staring at her in a summer dress. It's all about the chemistry, real life connection. I found her quickly, once I stopped chasing perfection. There ain't no proof in that, perfect is boring. Like I know they want me who would freak in the morning. When you up with it, put it on the king, loving you in every week. Girl, it could never be a sin, and if it is, then it's sin. It's such a beautiful thing. She got this buckle of a goddess with the copper tongue. See, I'm a better man just for being with her. She says she want a natural, not a real nigga. So baby, why don't you come and play with me? I'll show you how this love's supposed to be. See, I'm a better man just for being with her. She says she want a natural, not a real nigga. Like what's a man to a king, what's a king to a god? Find yourself a real goddess, cause these bitches is odd. It ain't about me, fam, it's all about her. I'm a king, cover my queen in diamonds and fur. Cause she know what I like, she know what I prefer. When I stroke her, I can hear the feline purr. Yeah, this is grown folk shit. I bounce it up and down while I'm trying to imitate. Belly beats like dances, hold each other glances. You can get this study history, or what's the chances? To find a real one, I had to find myself first. I went celibate because these women out here requesting stuff on the money fam. Yeah, the back, that's the purse of gold digger or a Jazzy Bell. Don't know what's worse, but anything. She hot, fam, she way too fine. The state of her mind, like she came from another time. She was looking for the God in and out different dimensions. Put the ring up on her finger, yeah, that's my intention. See, I'm a better man just for being with her. She says she want a natural, not a real nigga. So baby, why don't you come and play with me? I'll show you how this love's supposed to be. See, I'm a better man just for being with her. She says she want a natural, not a real nigga. Like what's a man to a king, what's a king to a god? Grab yourself a real goddess, cause his breeches is on.
What's a man to a king? What's a king to a god? It's profound. Anyway, guys, listen. I crown myself king of the Northern Kingdom. Let's go.
We're not my fucking.
Don't make up for your sins in the church. You do it in the streets. You do do it at home. The rest is bullshit and you know it.
Talking smack, man a whack, bullet holes up in your back. I'ma show you niggas all about them fucking skills you lack. Man a gassing on that CO2, I'm sticking to the facts. Money coming out my fucking ears and I ain't talking track. If I say I'm out here making P, I really mean it. I got that secret weapon arms house, nobody seen it. These rappers nowadays, they talk that smack, but they don't mean it. I don't expect a fake Negro P ain't gonna feel it. Talking smack, man I'm black, bullet holes up in your back. I'ma show you niggas all about them fucking skills you lack. Man, them gassing on that CO2, I'm sticking to the facts. Money coming out my fucking ears and I ain't talking track. If I say I'm out here making P, I really mean it. I got that secret weapon arms house, nobody seen it. These rappers nowadays, they talk that smart, but they don't mean it. I don't expect a fake Negro P ain't gonna feel it. Enter the land of the lost, it's a black holocaust. All these pigs out here taking on life. You can end up on a record, you staring at death, nigga, just from the roll of a dice. Niggas is growing up fast and they don't understand, so they don't wanna take your advice. Devils can lay where they stand, do not fuck with me, man, cause I'm putting their bodies on ice. You niggas ain't killers, you man are just rappers that talk about killing. You say you're religious and say all these words, but you clearly love sinning. Hickory dickory dog, the time ran out on the clock, and they still hustling rocks in their socks. But my lyrics work more than the box. The ego is landing, the lion is loose, so surrender your forces, cause they ain't no use. And we ain't taking no prisoners, we killing it all, ain't no time for no treaty or truce. Lyrics is weaponized, spiritual war, man, that way that I'm giving no verbal abuse. My shit is nastier than the old slut, fucking hundreds of men and the baby produce. Talking smack, man a whack, bullet holes up in your back. I'ma show you niggas all about them fucking skills you lack. Man a gassing on that CO2, I'm sticking to the facts. Money coming out my fucking ears and I ain't talking track. If I say I'm out here making P, I really mean it. I got that secret weapon arms house, nobody seen it. These rappers nowadays, they talk that smack, but they don't mean it. I don't expect a fake Negro P ain't gonna feel it.
I give up. Who are you? The Antichrist. You get me in a vendetta kind of mood. You tell the angels in heaven you never seen evil so singularly personified as you did in the face of the man who killed you.
Trojans, Saracens, warriors, killers. Pull up on a man, you better call for your niggas. Lions, tigers, bears and gorillas. Now I'm doing numbers, Tommy Hill figures. Fam, I got two flows like the Nile rivers. White and the blue, psycho, black mirrors. Had more bitches than you had hot dinners. Trapped in the ghetto with the saints and the sinners. I told you before, I'ma tell you again, it's the last time I say it. My hand on the strap when you talking that smack when you force me to spray it. Angels and demons and goblins and ghouls. I dragon slay, do not play with me fools. Smash up the game, I'ma take them to school. I won't stop till I got 40 acres with mules. Business is business, you know how we do. I'ma spread like corona with seasonal flu. Many are called, chosen a few. Many are called, chosen a few. Business is business, you know how we do. I'ma spread like corona with seasonal flu. Many are called, chosen a few. Nigga, many are called, but chosen a few. Talking smack, man a whack. Bullet holes up in your back. I'ma show you niggas all about them fucking skills you lack. Man, they gassing on that CO2, I'm sticking to the facts. Money coming out my fucking ears and I ain't talking track. If I say I'm out here making P, I really mean it. I got that secret weapon arms house, nobody seen it. These rappers nowadays, they talk that smack, but they don't mean it. I don't expect a fake Negro P ain't gonna feel it. Talking smack, man, I'm black. Bullet holes up in your back. I'ma show you niggas all about them fucking skills you lack. Man, them gassing on that CO2, I'm sticking to the facts. Money coming out my fucking ears and I ain't talking track. If I say I'm out here making P, I really mean it. I got that secret weapon arms house, nobody seen it. These rappers nowadays, they talk that smart, but they don't mean it. I don't expect a fake Negro P ain't gonna feel it.